This podcast is brought to you by Guerrilla Podcast Syndicate, powered by Kangaroo Fern Media Lab. Kangaroo Fern is Australia's independent video and podcast management agency with a mission to help individuals and entrepreneurs to start their own podcasts and harness the power of podcasting. A Guerrilla Podcast Syndicate production. GMG, your guide to Australian dream. Learn how to make your Australian dreams come true with GMG Visa Solutions, your guide to Australian dream. This fortnightly podcast provides general advice about migration law and practice, whether it be for studying, working, visiting, migrating to Australia, petitioning for your visa refusal or cancellation, or obtaining Australian citizenship. GMG Visa Solutions got you covered. GMG, your guide to Australian dream.
Good day everyone! Welcome to another episode of GMG Visa Solutions, your guide to Australian dream. This is your host, Jeroslyn Glico-Kovarskis, and this is brought to you by Guerrilla Podcast Syndicate and Ospod Syndicate, independent podcast networks for people worldwide. To learn more, please visit www.guerrillapodcast.com.ph and www.australiapodcastsyndicate.com. I hope everyone had a fantastic start of the year. Let us all welcome 2021 with an open heart and an open mind with full of positivity. Happy New Year, everyone! Alright, so for today's episode, we will introduce to you Subclass 482. This subclass is also known as Temporary Skill Shortage Visa. This temporary visa lets an employer sponsor a suitably skilled worker to fill a position where they can't find a suitable Australian skilled worker to fill. For those who like, follow, and share our Facebook page, GMG Visa Solutions, and also our podcast, thank you very much and may you continue to support us. Also, thank you for those who have sent the inquiries. Rest assured that we will reply to you and provide you with general advice. If you want comprehensive and specific advice tailored to your circumstances, please do not hesitate to contact us. Australian migration laws are constantly changing. The general advice we provide on the podcast is current on the time that we made the recording. Because of how often migration law changes, the general information provided today may not be applicable tomorrow. That is why GMG Visa Solutions is here for you. Also, just a reminder, whatever that we talked about on this podcast are only general information and not in any way specific due to everyone having different circumstances. So let's begin. As mentioned earlier, Temporary Skill Shortage Visa or Subclass 482 enables employer to address labor shortages through sponsoring a suitably skilled worker to fill a position where they can't source a suitably skilled Australian worker. This visa has 4 streams that you can apply for. The first stream is the short-term stream, the second is the medium-term stream, third one is the labor agreement stream, and the fourth one is the subsequent entrant.
Your podcast journey starts here. Take the first step on your side. Hustle with us. It starts with a great domain. Get your podcast web host with Beard and Coffee at www.beardandcoffee.com.au or find us at Facebook.
Getting a Subclass 482 is a 3-step process. The first step is that the employer must first be an approved sponsor, meaning the employer must be registered as a standard business sponsor or at least have lodged an application to become one. The second step is that once the employer is a standard business sponsor, then the employer will need to lodge a nomination application for their potential employee who is the visa applicant. The third step after the nomination application is the visa application by the potential employee. So how can an employer become a standard business sponsor? So an employer must submit an online application with the Department of Home Affairs to become one. The eligibility requirement for the employers are as follows. You must have a legally established and currently operating business which can be inside or outside Australia. You must have no adverse information regarding your business, or if you or someone associated with the business do, the adverse information can be reasonable for the department to disregard. You should also have a strong record of demonstrated commitment to employing local labor. And lastly, you must declare that you will not engage in any discriminatory recruitment practices. Standard business sponsor can sponsor someone to work for them on a Subclass 494 or a skilled employer sponsored regional provisional visa and Subclass 482 temporary skill shortage visa. The application fee is 420 Australian dollars and the validity is 5 years from the date when the sponsorship application was approved. In regard to the nomination application by the employer, one of the requirements is that the labor market testing must be completed in order to show the Department of Home Affairs that the employer cannot find a suitable Australian worker. Labor market testing involves advertising the position in Australia. The advertisement must have run for at least 4 weeks to 4 months immediately before lodging a nomination application. A total number of 3 advertisements must be provided at the time the nomination is lodged.
This podcast is brought to you by Guerrilla Podcast Syndicate, powered by Kangaroo Fern Media Lab. Kangaroo Fern is Australia's independent video and podcast management agency with a mission to help individuals and entrepreneurs to start their own podcasts and harness the power of podcasting.
2 advertisements must be published either on a recruitment website, national print media, national radio, or on business website. The 3rd advertisement must be published on the government's Job Active website. The advertisement must contain the title or a description of the position, the skills or experience required for the position, the name of the approved sponsor or the name of the recruitment agency being used by the sponsor, and the salary for the position if the annual earning for the position is lower than 96,400 Australian dollars. Now let's go to the visa streams for Subclass 482. Due to some differences in the eligibility requirement on each stream, we will discuss the short-term stream first. The basic eligibility under the short-term stream are as follows. If you are in Australia when you apply, you must be a holder of a substantive visa or bridging visa A, bridging visa B, or bridging visa C. You must also comply with your previous visa condition. You must be nominated by an approved sponsor to work in an occupation listed on the short-term skilled occupation list. You must only work for your sponsor and associated entity, have relevant skills, qualifications, and employment background to perform the occupation, have worked in your nominated occupation for at least 2 years, have positive skills assessment, have health insurance, be a genuine applicant for entry and stay as a short-term visa holder, have not contravened paying for a visa sponsorship legislative provisions, and meet the minimum standard of English language proficiency unless exemption applies. Other eligibility requirements are: you must meet the character requirement, you must meet the health requirement, you must sign the Australian value statement that confirms that you will respect the Australian way of life and obey Australian laws, you must not owe any money to Australian government, but if in any case you have outstanding debts, then it must be paid off first prior to the visa application. If you are onshore, you must not have had any visa cancellation or previous visa application refusal. Let's now discuss the medium-term stream eligibility requirement. The only difference it has from the eligibility requirement under short-term stream is that the nominated occupation under medium-term stream must be specified on the medium and long-term strategic skills list for Subclass 482 visa. Let's now discuss the labor agreement stream. This stream is for skilled worker nominated by employers who have a labor agreement. Labor agreements are developed between the Australian government represented by the department and the employers. Eligibility requirements under labor agreement stream are as follows. The nominated occupation must be the subject of a labor agreement between the Commonwealth and the nominator, which in this case is the employer.
So you want to start a podcast, or perhaps you've already started one, but you're still unclear on how you can actually make this podcasting work. No worries. That's why we're here for you. We are Guerrilla Podcast Syndicate, powered by Kangaroo Fern Media Lab. Join our network. Contact us at info@kangaroofern.com because we're stronger together.
You must be nominated by an approved sponsor. You must have worked in your nominated occupation for at least 2 years. You must have met the character requirement, health requirement, and also have the agreed level of English language based on the labor agreement. You must also have adequate health insurance. You must sign the Australian value statement that confirms that you will respect the Australian way of life and obey Australian laws. You must not owe any money to the Australian government as well. And if in any case you have outstanding debts, then it must be paid off first prior to the visa application. And the final requirement is that if you are on shore, you must not have had any visa cancellation or visa application refusals. There are 5 types of labor agreements. These are as follows. Number 1 is the company-specific labor agreements. Number 2, designated area migration agreements. Number 3, industry labor agreements. Number 4, project agreements. And number 5, global talent employer-sponsored agreements. Also, there are currently 9 industry agreements in place. These industries are as follows. Dairy, fishing, meat, minister of religion, on hire, pork, restaurant fine dining, advertising, and horticulture. Let's now discuss the 4th stream, which is the subsequent entrant. This stream is for a family member of Subclass 457 and 482 visa holder who are applying separately for their Subclass 482 and wishes to join the family member who is the primary holder of the Subclass 457 or 482 in Australia. The main eligibility under this stream is that the primary applicant must be a holder of Subclass 457 or 482 visa. Usually, secondary applicants apply for this visa at the same time as the primary applicant. In some instances, this may not be possible due to changes in the family composition after the primary applicant has submitted their visa application already. With the temporary skill shortage visa or Subclass 482 under the short-term stream, you can work in Australia generally for up to 2 years. If international trade obligation applies, then up to 4 years, and if you are a Hong Kong passport holder, then you can stay up to 5 years. If you are under the medium-term stream, then you can work in Australia generally for up to 4 years, and if you are a Hong Kong passport holder, then you can stay up to 5 years. If you are under the labor agreement stream, the visa validity is maximum of 4 years depending on what is stated on the labor agreement. The visa validity under the subsequent entrant depends on what stream the primary applicant is in. The visa application charge under the short-term stream is 1,265 Australian dollars for the main applicant and each dependent 18 years and above. It is 320 Australian dollars for those who are under 18 years old. The visa application charge under the medium-term stream is 2,645 Australian dollars for the main applicant and each dependent 18 years old and over, and 660 Australian dollars for those who are under 18 years old. The visa application charge under the labor agreement stream is the same to the medium-term stream. The visa application charge under the subsequent entrant depends on what stream the primary applicant is in. The processing time for the visa application under the short-term stream is between 5 to 7 months for 75% to 90% of the applications, While for the medium term and labor agreement streams, it is between 4 to 7 months for 75 to 90% of the applications.
We are Independent Podcast Network. We are Guerrilla Podcast Syndicate. Would you like to hear your brand while supporting quality podcasts? Contact us now at advertise@guerrillapodcastsyndicate.com.
Subsequent entrant does not provide any processing time at this stage. Furthermore, with this Subclass 482 visa, you can study in Australia. However, you will not get any government assistance from Australia. You can also travel outside Australia and return as many times as you want while the visa is valid and there's no travel restrictions in place. Also, with this visa, if you are eligible, you can apply for permanent residency. You can include your family with you when you apply for this visa. You can be inside or outside Australia, but 9 immigration clearance when you apply for the visa and when the decision is made on the visa. If you have been granted this visa, the Department of Home Affairs will digitally link your visa to your passport. You do not need a label or a sticker in your passport to enter Australia. Let's now go to the visa conditions for a temporary skill shortage visa subclass 482. Visa conditions are like limitations or restrictions or rules applicable to a person who is a lawful non-citizen of Australia. If these conditions are attached to the visa grant notice, the person must abide with it, otherwise the visa may be cancelled. You must obey with Australian laws. So what are the potential conditions that may be attached to Subclass 482 visa? There are 3 potential conditions. First condition is 8303, which requires you not to be disruptive. You must not be involved in any disruptive activities or violence threatening harm to Australian community or a group within the Australian community. Condition 8501 states that you must maintain adequate health insurance for yourself and family members if there's any, and this should be for the duration of your stay in Australia. And lastly, Condition 8607 requires you to work only in your nominated occupation. So that's it. These are the basic information you need to know about Subclass 482 visa, which is the temporary skill shortage visa. If you have any questions or if there's any visa you want us to discuss on our podcast, please do not hesitate to contact us. We cannot stress enough that whatever we talked about on this podcast are only general information, not in any way specific. The reason being is because everyone has different circumstances. It is best to contact us so we can guide and provide you with visa options suitable to your preferences and needs. We'll listen to you and deliver professional and flexible migration advice catered for your circumstances. You can hear this podcast on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google Podcasts, and many other podcast platforms. Also, you can listen to us through other media platforms, so please do not forget to like, follow, and share our Facebook page GMG Visa Solutions and our podcast as well. You can contact us directly through our Facebook page, email us at enquire@gmgvisasolutions.com.au, or visit our website www.gmgvisasolutions.com.au for more information. We pride ourselves with well-trained consultants who are equipped and qualified to provide migration service wherever you are in the world. With our comprehensive knowledge and expertise on various migration issues, we can simplify it for you. No more complicated processes, just a straightforward approach that saves you time, money, and effort. So until next time, keep dreaming, keep praying. Dreams do come true. Thank you for listening to GMG Visa Solutions, your guide to Australian Dream. See you and may God bless us all. Once again, Happy New Year to everyone, and may we all take care, especially during these unprecedented times of COVID-19 pandemic.
Thank you for listening. Make sure to visit our website at www.guerrillapodcastsyndicate.com, where you can subscribe to the show in Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Spotify, Stitcher, or via RSS, so you'll never miss a show. While you're at it, if you found value in this show, rate and review this podcast and share it with your friends. You can also join the conversation with Guerrilla Space We Space R on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. Please consider on making a donation to help us keep making the podcast you love. If you have any questions, feel free to reach out to us.